Okay. All right. So what I'm going to do first is I just want to give you an idea of what we're doing. So I'll make it short, but also as comprehensive as I can. So the idea basically comes from my own experience for Solopreneur Inc. So this is my fourth company. I've stumbled around this stuff for a long time now, and I've been financially successful at moments. I've been personally happy with it at times. I've been professionally satisfied at other times, but I didn't have a way of pulling all of that together. And in the fall of 2020, I had a business called Call Sales Partners that I'd started about 8 to 10 years ago. And that business did really well very quickly. I got it up to 1.2 million in revenue into my sort of into the second year. My gross margin was really high. I liked doing it, even though I didn't feel an emotional connection or purpose or mission behind it. But I liked the work, and I liked innovating and running my own company and all of this stuff. But it turned into a real treadmill with a lot of fluctuations in revenue, craziness, compressed margins at certain points, building a team of people that kind of overwhelmed me, which I learned I don't want to do that. I don't want to build a company anymore. I want to build systems to scale, which is very different. So the idea is, for me, I spent the last year and a half just trying to figure out, how do I do this differently? Because I don't want to succeed and end up failing as I'm succeeding. So that's the idea of Solopreneur Inc. And I think of it as kind of a laboratory experiment. And then when stuff works, I kind of pull it into some kind of a, organized product or system. And I love this quote from Naval Ravikant that just says it all to me. The first part of it for me that's changed the most is that I know what to do every single day right now. And if you look at somebody like Usain Bolt or Michael Jordan or any highly successful person, Jeff Bezos with Amazon, it was, grow, grow, grow. And then it was operate, operate, operate. Like the ability to just like really know what to do was critical. And that's a big part of this, because I think one of the solopreneur dilemmas, and this was mine as well, is when you're on your own in your head, you're just spinning in circles a lot of the time and just like doing stuff. So the end game of knowing what to do every day has to get set up with some work and some thinking. The first piece of it for me was know what I want. And this was kind of surprising when I actually did it. So we discovered really, and somebody can add a dimension if they can think of one, but I couldn't. There's really 5 kind of what we're calling happiness beacons. So I want to make money. I want to build wealth. I want to feel a sense of purpose and meaning behind what I'm building and bringing to the world. I want to enjoy my life, and I want to love what I do. Well, vaguely knowing that doesn't help at all. So I'll give one example. So personal life. We decided we're moving to France in 10 years. I'm not thinking about moving to France. We're moving to France in 10 years. I'm living that right now, today, even though it's a dream. Well, now what do? Traditional business systems, you create KPIs for the business, you measure the KPIs amount. So we came up with this idea called key happiness indicators, KHIs. And those work across these 5 dimensions, and you make sure the beacons, and you make sure they all tie together. So for me, I wrote down what I have to do in terms of the objective, moving to France in 10 years, all of the milestones and activities around those key happiness indicators. So stuff like, I've already started connecting with people on LinkedIn that live there, that are fit the solopreneur category. So I'm doing business stuff, but I'm also building. In 10 years, I'm going to know 500 people in the country when I move there. I'm building a company that's going to allow me to do that as well. So I won't get into all the details, but know what you want, or you might not get there. The next part of it is finding out what holds you back. So this was really new for me, because I jumped to what I would call a skill solution. So when I have a problem, I'm like, all right, I look around, I'm like, what are people doing? I'm like, oh, they're good at social media. I got to get good at social media. And then I get good at social media and I'm no closer to the destinations and ideas and where I want to go than when I started before when I was bad at social media. So identifying what's holding me back, what's the greatest obstacle that when overcome leads to the most success, and it changes constantly, but knowing what that obstacle is at any given time, and then having a plan to remove the obstacle was really life-changing for me. But we don't do like big 3-year plans. We do like 10-minute, 15-minute plans of kind of like, okay, now that we see this, we can map it out and say, oh, here's the one most important action that we can take to remove that obstacle and move forward. And also, as we're looking at that action, what are the positive and negative consequences of taking that action? And then this part around mastery and achievement of now it's time to build skills and find resources, which is usually where I used to start. So now it's like, how do I master social media in the context of where I'm trying to go and those key happiness indicators and the obstacle I have to remove, the action I need to take, what could go wrong, what could go right around that action. So one of the things was, okay, I got to learn how to do video. So we got Matt on here. He's our YouTube coach. We have a long-term engagement with him. I do a video almost every day. I show it to him. He gives me feedback and I delete it. So in 3-4 months, I don't like doing it, to be honest. It's hard to, I can speak on video, but I don't like speaking in an organized way like YouTube requires. So that's a skill that's got to get built. But when I jumped to do things like that in the past, it didn't work out. And what this leads to me is really enjoying what I'm doing every day. And that's where I got with this is I'm having a great time. I've never had a great time with these other businesses. I did okay, but I didn't necessarily have a great time. So I'm going to take about another 5 minutes, and then we'll go to Michael around. This is one of the skill development pieces. So the idea is I need a market point of view. I need to be known for a perspective. And that's important to me right now. It may not be important to some people in this room because you're at a different phase or trying to do something different. I need this and it's got to be good. So I've worked on this framework to be able to do that. The idea is basically to speak to people in a way where they feel like this company, I personally am thinking about something and have a new way of doing things. That's the idea. So that was deliberately worked on and constructed, and it's very important for me. So I'll show you how I did it. You can do this. This is recorded. It'll be up on YouTube. And we also have this in our newsletter that went out today. And I'll put this in the chat when I finish so you can see it. But the first thing is figure out what's the big shift in the world. So what are you seeing? So we all have this perspective. Almost everybody I talk to, sometimes it shows up like a rant where you're just like, oh my God, this is crazy what's going on. Or sometimes it shows up as sort of thoughtful perspective that you have, whatever it is. What is going on in the world in relation to what you're doing? And when you're talking to people, you can start there. And this works for content. It works for being a podcast guest, your own podcast, your own show, your own event, whatever you want to do. And then what isn't working? So there's this weird, I think it's a brain chemistry thing, just the way human beings work is when there's a common practice in conventional wisdom, it's wrong. I don't know why, but it's this herd thing. So when the whole herd goes in a direction that maybe started right because a couple of innovators figured something out and then taught some people, and then they did it and taught other people, and then it started getting done wrong or it stopped working, that's what everybody's doing. So they're not everybody, but a lot of people are stuck because they just don't know. They're stuck in common practices that don't work. So what are the common practices that don't work in your industry that you see all the time, people falling into? And this is what I see. So I thought through this, and I've talked to a ton of people. So this is based on data, not on my own opinion. It's what I feel and learned from it, from the data. Well, if those things are happening, there's a term in marketing called amplification of the pain. So that's what happens next. So what's the impact of the conventional wisdom on people in your target market? What's the bad stuff that's going on for them, that where they see it and they're like, oh yeah, that's exactly what's happening to me. I've seen this for years. So you want to be able to communicate that effectively. And then the next piece is, now you're talking about you. So what's the big reveal? So what do you see is not the conventional wisdom that works differently, that works in a better way? And one of the examples I heard that I love was about marathon running. So this guy got up in front of this conference of marathon runners, and he said, now that we know carb loading doesn't work, everybody, they're all carb loading because that's what they do. That's the conventional wisdom. He says, now we know it's all about, and I forget what it was, I'm not an expert of stuff, but anyway, it was like protein dosing or something. Well, he's selling protein dosing product, which is very innovative, but his big reveal was this, like, there's a different way to do it, because the amplification of the pain, when you carbo load, you hit this mile and then you fall apart, or whatever the thing is he was saying. So the big reveal, when the big reveal is done, then you got to talk about the transformation gift that you're bringing to the world. So if this is a problem for people, what happens when they adopt a new approach? So that's the idea of the introduction of the transformation gift. So people can start to see, oh, there's a better way to do this. And then you want to go to, what is it? So what's the transformation? And this comes from a lot of the Seth Godin marketing stuff, if you're familiar with him, but he talks a lot about speaking to people in terms of, stuck and then transformation, which I think is really helpful. So that is it on this part of it. I hope that was helpful to some of you. I want to introduce Michael. So we'll do a spotlight. And we just had this like really long conversation. I don't know, Michael, we'll kind of bring you up in the spotlight. In, I don't know, it was a few months ago or something like that. And I just felt like your perspective on brain science and brain chemistry and the way to, I think it's everything. It's just like understanding how people really think and how they work and how their brains work, for me in the last year and a half, has been a major part of my studying and reading and trying to test those things out. And I know that's right where you are, in what you're doing. And the idea here is, how do you motivate people to say yes to your offer? So that's kind of where you're taking this, which I think we all want.
Yeah.
So, all right.
All right.
So how do you want to, where do you want to go with this?
I can just jump into it.
Let's do it.
Okay, I'm going to start sharing my screen. All right, Larry, just give me a thumbs up if everything's looking good.
Yep.
Excellent. All right, let's get into it, everybody. I absolutely love language. So let's have some fun with language, shall we? Here's a nice, lovely message. You've probably heard this many times in your life. Have a nice day. And you can notice how it makes you feel. Let's change it just a little bit. It's a little different now, isn't it? The same sentiment, but now we're in threat territory, aren't we? Right? This is why I love language. By making small and sometimes big shifts in reframing in the language we use, we change the meaning. And the language we use determines how we are understood. And this is going to be critical for understanding how you talk about your business. And that's what I'm going to share with you today. Little bit of background on me, just a little bit. My background is behavioral neurology and linguistics. My game is messaging strategy and value articulation. And occasionally I do the above by aligning marketing and sales teams so they're speaking the same way. Now, that's enough about me. Let's get into it. People do, what do you need to say to get more people saying yes to you? This is what we're going to be talking about today. And we're talking about applications for all your marketing, right? All your conversations, and including your sales. What do you need to be saying in these situations that lead people to a yes? Here's the deal. People do not want your thing. You might have heard something like this. What they want is what your thing means to them. Everything I'm going to show you from here on out is how to create a sense of meaning around what you do in the mind of your audience. Because the way our brains are wired up is we create meaning out of everything. Meaning seems to be how we organize life. And when you're speaking directly to how our brains are coded to organize life, you are breaking through and your message becomes so much clearer. I'm going to show you how that whole thing works. So part one, how we work, right? Now, if you woke up this morning thinking to yourself, oh gosh, I hope I'm in a presentation and shows me a picture of gazelle, this is your lucky day. You lucked out hard. And I'm so happy I was able to fulfill that for you. Truthfully, what's going on for these gazelle is crucial to understanding what's going on in the mind of your audience when they are being introduced to you and your business for the first time. So let's dig a little deeper. Here we have a human brain, and now we are going to metaphorically divide the brain into two parts. Upstairs, we have the human brain, which does pretty much what we think a human brain is gonna do. Logic, reason, a whole bunch of things, thousands of things that we think of as making us human. Just gonna call that rational. And down below, we have what I call the critter brain. Critter brains do only two things, and it does them extraordinarily well. We've been doing these since we were before 1 year old. It does survival and it does emotions. That's it. And we are experts at those. And we're going to focus on survival because I'm pretty sure everyone here has lots of practice with this, right? You understand where I'm coming from. So a little bit of audience participation time, maybe in the chat, between making a rational decision and a survival decision. Which one do you think we're going to favor? Any guesses in the chat? That's right, survival every single time. Each and every one of us are the proud descendant of some long ago ancestor who, when walking across the plain, did not turn to the right and say, gosh, I wonder if that lion is hungry. Nope, we ran away. So survival wins every time. And one of the primary ways our critter brain is designed to maintain survival is to make sure we surround ourselves with like kind. People who are like ourselves. Things, yes, it works for things as well. Everything we buy that are like ourselves. I guess occasionally the gazelle or two that are like ourselves. To this part of the brain, it says, I don't want me to die. Therefore, things like me probably don't want me to die either. It makes perfect sense to the critter brain. This also means that to this part of the brain, anything that is determined to be not like kind is now seen as a potential threat to survival. And no one ever in the history of ever has purchased anything when the critter brain is throwing out signals that we might die if we buy this. Will never happen, right? So the name of the game is to get on the other side, isn't it? So how do we do that? How do we create like kind so that we can create the conditions where they want to work with us, they want to purchase from us, that they feel like they like us, in fact? Well, we don't have horns on our heads. We don't have spots in our fur like the gazelle do. We have something that, to the best of our knowledge, is uniquely human. What our critter brains are looking for to make sure that we are among like kind, so we're looking for a match to our own identity, our sense of who we are, and just as importantly, who we are not. Those are two co-equal calculations of identity. The whole thing works like this. Your audience takes in whatever you are communicating. And believe me when I tell you, everything is communication. So whatever that is, you're broadcasting it out. The first thing their brain does is just say, is there an identity match here? This happens in half a second. This is the critter brain asking, are you like kind? And whichever way that answer goes, it gets kicked upstairs to the human brain, which now justifies the decision the critter brain has already made. Right? It wraps a story around the whole thing, justifies it, takes credit for the decision. That's why we think we make all these great decisions. Nope, just the critter brain going like kind, not like kind, safe or not safe. And then, of course, then we output into behavior. And the behavior we're all looking for as solopreneurs is smash that buy button, right? Well, we learned two big things from this understanding of this neural pathway. Number one, the critter brain's in charge. That's the part of us that's driving the bus. First and foremost, we have to get through the barrier of like kind or not like kind. And I know 99% of people who do business communication don't understand this, but this is what's going on. We go straight to the human brain stuff, but the critter brain needs to know it's part of the equation before the human brain can even throw up the right justification to lead to that buy button. Number two, you are in control of only one part of this entire pathway. It's right there at number one. What are you communicating? And my goal is to show you how to communicate in a way that's more intentional, more deliberate, and more effective. How is it more effective? It's answering the question of talking to both parts of the brain in the way that it wants to be communicated to. So this is where the yes lives, folks, right there. So let's talk about that. That's all the theory. That's all. I've condensed probably 3 years worth of behavioral neurology training in about 10 minutes or so, less than that. But I like practical action. Theory is great. Let's put it into practice. So the next two parts, I'm going to show you how to put what you just saw into action in your own business right now. The two most important things. So let's go back to this framework.
I don't know.
And someone drop that me, please. So there's only the two main questions your audience is asking that's going to satisfy the information that these two parts of the brain need are as follows. Upstairs for the human brain. What's the main outcome I get? That's what it needs to know. We all have features, we all have benefits, right? But really what the human brain wants to know is what's the main outcome I get? And a great way to think of outcomes, because outcomes aren't necessarily the thing you deliver. They're what they get after they have what you deliver. A great way to think about this comes from a gentleman named Theodore Levitt, a Harvard Business School professor, who famously said, people do not want a 1/4 inch drill. What they want is a 1/4 inch hole, right? Use that metaphor to understand how to think about your outcome. They may not want the thing you deliver. They want what the thing you deliver gets them. How about the critter brain? What's the critter brain looking for? It wants to know the answer to one question. Do you believe the same thing I do? Beliefs are a direct line to understanding each other's identity. Beliefs and meaning go hand in hand. You can't have one without the other. Beliefs and meaning are how we organize our world. So when you share with your audience where you fit in relationship to their belief system, the critter brain just calms down and thinks you're like kind, as long as it's like kind. And it doesn't have to be a perfect circle Venn diagram. It just has to be there a little bit. It just has to understand where you're coming from, right? So those are the two main questions the brain is asking. This is what they're really buying. This is the outcome, not the thing you're delivering, but the outcome. This is what they're really buying. Now, many people, your competition, can communicate this as well. Now, the more clear you are about an outcome, the more ahead you are from where they are. But if they're clear as well, well, now you're on equal footing, aren't you? We both offer the same outcome. But here's the kicker down below. This is why they're going to buy it from you and not them. If you are more aligned with their identity, they're going to buy from you every single time. Alignment with identity equals safety. Why go somewhere else that's less safe, right? Makes sense. This is all survival. Here are the two questions you need to ask to get there. What do they get when they got what you gave them up top? And how come this is important to you? This is about you specifically. I'm going to show you an example of this later on, okay? So how come this is important to you? So here's how to apply it. Okay, now you understand how to get there. Here's how to apply it. And this is just one example of how to apply it. So you all see this bullseye on your screen. Off to the left there is everyone instantly understands what you do the exact same way. If you can answer this question in the affirmative, which is going to be hardly anyone here. The people who have the easiest time with this are the trades. I don't care where you are on the planet. If you say, I'm a roofer, everyone understands your business the exact same way, okay? So if that's the case, if that's you, then the thing you start with is the belief. Everyone else, the further out you get from this commonly understood frame of what your business does, what's the outcome, you start with the outcome and then you follow it up immediately with the belief. And the further away you get from the commonly understood, now you need to use more and more simple language. Same setup, but more simple language. Closer in, you can use some inside baseball, right? Further away, you got to keep it more and more dirt simple. And finally, out on the edge, we're in a territory I haven't even talked about yet. Now we're in metaphor territory, okay? If there is no relationship of understanding between your service and the person you're talking to, you need to be talking in terms of metaphor to bring them into understanding. Then you can start talking about outcomes and then beliefs. I've had experience with this with a few clients. I'll give you an example. About a year and a half ago, I worked with a client. They do data analytics. Who do they do it for? For mutual insurance companies. Mutual insurance companies are usually 30 and 50-year-old family-owned companies serving the community that have zero relationship with data analytics. They know what the two dictionary definitions of those words are, but that's about it. And here they are trying to sell a six-figure, multi-year contract to a market that has no idea what this thing is or how it can benefit them. And they were floundering around trying to make sales. They knew the market needed them, but the market didn't know. So we've introduced the market to a metaphor. Within 6 months, they had their first 10 clients. Okay, so metaphors work really, really well. Here's an example of belief level communication. Now, I don't do websites. What I do informs what goes on the website. Here's a trade, plumber. Belief communication. This is the perfect weld. It will last for decades. You'll never see it, but we put it in your wall anyway. Do you get a sense for who these people are, their identity? We know they're plumbers. We assume they're good at plumbing. Why talk about how good you are at plumbing? We're going to assume you've passed some sort of certification, right? But the brain wants to know who you are. And anyone who aligns with this identity is calling these people right now. Here is outcome communication. This is for a company that does legal documents. Guiding you through the process with expertise and great care. The outcome is not the legal document. For this audience, the outcome is actually embedded in the process. They're in a foreign land. They have to get a legal document. They don't want to pay a lawyer, but they have no relationship with the law whatsoever. It's like hacking their way through the jungle. We're going to guide you through the process with expertise and great care. That's the outcome. Does that all make sense to everybody? Nice. Okay, finally, we get to sales conversation. Here's how to apply this in your sales conversation. Here's just your basic sales structure that you can get anywhere. This is nothing new. You start with some rapport. You find their need. This is what Larry was talking about. We need to find what their pain points are, what their need states really are. This is where you spend the bulk of your time and you're asking questions. Every salesperson says, ask more questions. Well, at some point, you're going to have to talk about your business, and that's what we do. We want to talk about our solution. Hopefully, we're relating it to the need we extracted above. And of course, we want to ask for the sale. Notice that gap in the middle. I've had this confirmed by many, many sales professionals. They all said, Michael, I'm doing this. I just didn't know I'm doing it until you pointed out to me. In between here, between getting all the information you can and before you start talking about your solution, introduce the belief transition. This is where you just say what your belief is about the thing that you do, or the context of what you do. When you talk about your belief, you frame everything that comes afterwards in terms of that belief, right? For instance, the plumber, their belief is, we believe in craftsmanship, that you have to do the job right. So when they say that, hey, what's your need? I need this done, I need that done. Great. What's the big problem? Fantastic. Instead of saying, well, okay, I'm going to come in and do this, I'm going to solve this. If that plumbing company just comes in and says, here's what we're all about. We are big believers in craftsmanship. We do everything at the craftsman level. Detail is our middle name. Now, everything they talk about, they know to talk about of how that relates to their belief, how their solution is a part of craftsmanship. And so when they come to the ask, they're no longer asking, hey, do you want to hire me as a plumber? They're asking, do you want a craftsman working on this, or do you want someone else? And of course, if the belief aligns, that's already the first yes. Of course, I want the craftsman on this. They've already differentiated themselves. Beliefs will differentiate you like nothing else. That makes sense to everybody. Some head nods, maybe? Yep, good. All right. So, Larry, how much more time do we have?
So about 10 more minutes, would that work, or do you need more
Perfect.
time?
Nope,
Okay.
This is going to be perfect.
Okay.
All right, let's put this into action. I need a volunteer. Anyone want to have this done for their business right now? I can't see everyone on the screen. So maybe if you use the digital hand raise, that way it pops up the first. All right, Erica.
All right, we got somebody.
Erica, okay. Erica, welcome. Tell us what you do.
Do you want to stop the screen share? So
No, because I want to actually,
Okay.
I'm going to put this up first. I'll explain this in a moment, but you can all start scanning that QR code, because I'm going to offer you to do with you on a separate call what I'm about to show you with Erica.
Oh boy.
All right, Erica, tell us what you do.
I basically help experts, especially consultants, learn how to pitch, write, and publish articles in industry trade journals and business magazines like Inc., Entrepreneur, Fast Company.
Okay, pitch, write, and publish articles. Now, I'm going to ask a question, but I don't want you to answer it just yet. All right?
Okay.
The question is, what's important to you about the work you do? Now, the word you is doing all the heavy lifting here. This is not about your customers or clients.
Mm-hmm.
Notice the frame of getting an article published. What's important to you about that?
Two things. There is so much garbage out there on the internet that does not need to be garbage. And there are so many articles that waste people's time. So
Okay.
that's one thing that's very important to me, is I want to see higher quality, better stuff that isn't just, we need to slap a bunch of words on the page for our SEO, but is actually going to build authority and credibility. That's one thing. The second piece, which is probably a little bit deeper, I know so many brilliant people who don't take that step because they think they still have to get like more training or more knowledge or more this or more that or more something else before they put their ideas out there. And those are the exact ideas that we actually need.
Yeah.
And that will actually make a difference.
Yeah. Notice, everyone, Erica went straight for two really high quality beliefs. About 90% of all human conversation, if you're really paying attention, are two people hurling beliefs at each other. It's literally how we organize and understand our world and each other. And also, please notice, and Erica, I want you to notice too, the energy that you put into saying those two things was far and away well above I help consultants pitch, write and publish, right?
Mhm.
That's what you do, but it's not what you're about.
Yeah.
And hardly anyone is really in the business they think they're in. I would venture to say, based on the limited bits of information we have so far, you are not in the pitch, write, and publish business.
No.
You are in the business. You're in the business of one of two things. You're either in the business of making sure there's no more garbage out there on the internet. I'm the anti-garbage crap articles on the internet person. Or you are I get brilliant people to take that step, to get there. Your stuff needs to get out there. I get brilliant people's ideas out there. Business.
Yeah. Yeah.
You just
That's
happen to do that through publishing, writing, and pitching stuff. Now, the pitching, writing, and publishing, that could be an outcome. Okay.
Mhm.
But I dare say your outcome sounds more like I'm going to get your brilliant ideas in front of more people. I'd like to see you start there instead.
Yeah.
What do you do, Erica?
I get your
people's
brilliant ideas out there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To more people.
Mhm.
So that you can get more exposure, get more clients, get more whatever, right? What I call the presenting outcomes. These are the surface level benefits that we all want. Then you can follow that up. Now that's all. No, that's a great outcome statement, right? Because for your business, we're going to start with the outcome. The second one, now the belief. Here's the belief that's going to really grab them. Because here's the thing, there's so much garbage out there, and I'm sick and tired of seeing garbage getting published out there. I want your brilliance out there to drown out the garbage. And anyone who shares that same belief is going to be like, oh, this Erica person really knows what she's talking about.
I love that
Does
whole idea.
everyone notice the difference in communication than from where we started? Now, we got there pretty quickly because I can tell Erica has thought about this before, right? Sometimes, yesterday onboarded a new client. We spent an hour and a half just getting to this point. People show up with their neurology. It's okay, but we get there. That went quickly. I'm so happy. Thank you, Erica.
Yeah, thank you.
Everyone give Erica a big hand for raising her hand and being the one. So I love doing this. You can see there on the screen, there's a QR code, or if you don't have that on your phone, there's my email address. My gift to all of you is 30 minutes on the phone together, and we will do with you what we did just now with Erica. And Erica, if you want to take advantage of that, and we can go a little bit deeper, you're welcome to take advantage of it as well. Do we have any questions from the group while we have some time left? That just means I did my job extraordinarily well, and I left nothing to question.
I got questions for you.
Yeah, what's up, Said?
Can we get rid of the screen share thingamajigger? Thanks. What do you think about subconscious versus conscious in terms of selling and buying?
There is, when it comes to selling and buying, there is no subconscious. There is what is immediately in awareness and what is just outside of awareness. But the subconscious actually works on a very slow level. And in a sales or marketing, it's instant, it's now. What's happening is that critter brain stuff, right? That are you like, kind, or not? We do that for everything. Every decision we ever make runs through that neurology, even what you had for breakfast this morning. Now, you might be thinking that's not a safety level like, kind thing. but it gets automated, usually by the time we're 6 years old or stuff, a lot of these things, right? But if you ever watch a small child make a decision or be asked to make a decision, they short circuit. They look up at mom and dad, help me out here. Tell me what are the criteria of safety is what their brain is asking. So I know what the answer is. So in a sales, what are normally called subconscious in a sales or marketing are really just cues, almost metaphors that are meant to trigger these automated understandings of safety and like kind. That's all. They're just signaling, these are things I want you to think of when you think of us, and anyone who likes that feeling goes yes. But it's not subconscious. That's just not in their immediate awareness. Does that make sense?
Aren't we unconscious of the critter brain though? Isn't that
No, the creative brain is operating all the time. It just gets so automated and the neurology is so deep that we're just not aware at every moment that it's working. It's like breathing. Breathing is not in our subconscious, but we're not always aware we're doing it. Our heartbeat is never right in our awareness of working. We're not concentrating on beating our heart, but it's not in our subconscious either. It's just wiring. So the creative brain's always there. You're always having an emotion. You're always aware. It's always active. That moment when you saw a glimpse in your rear view mirror and you thought there was a cop behind you and you went, oh crap, that was the critter brain. It's always happening. It has nothing to do with subconscious.
Scott's got a question.
Yes.
Thank you very much, Michael. Appreciate the insights. I'm getting a sense of these NLP overtones.
Mm-hmm.
How might that fit into the picture?
My background, when I call behavioral neurology as a mix, I'll just do the acronyms of NLP, Ericksonian language patterning, Neo-Reichian model, classic psychology, developmental stages mostly, and a bunch of work by a guy named Bert Hellinger. It's all being mixed in. So you're probably picking up on a bunch of NLP stuff because it's mixed in.
Okay. So it's a powerful contributor to the background and to the orientation.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I had another
Any other
question.
questions?
Gary. Can I
Well,
ask another
hold
question?
on. Anybody else first? And then then you can fill the void if there's nobody else.
You're annoying, Larry.
I know. All right, go for it.
Thanks, Larry. So if I say a lot of things that go against conventional wisdom, so does that mean that the people that hire me are the people that go against conventional wisdom or want to go against conventional wisdom?
Highly likely.
Uh,
Yeah,
I'll-
especially if it's part of, if you're going against the conventional wisdom often, it's part of what you do, and it's being expressed a lot in your daily life, then absolutely. That's what you are communicating. And you're probably being said yes to by a lot of people who share that same identity. I look at the world the same way, they say. He's like me. He's not going to kill me. Yay, let's do business. Right?
So there's another theory on it, which is coming out of the archetypal branding world. So the idea there is that if you're clearly channeling your archetype, and there's 12 of them and they fall into 4 categories, each one of those categories is designed and known unconsciously by people to do a very particular thing. So if you have a archetype, a magician, for example, sub-archetype, an outlaw, this is me, and my partner Dave, magician, and then creator architect, this is an attractive archetype for people who want achievement and mastery. So they're responding to a feeling of, I don't like feeling stuck or powerless or in my safe world right now. I want achievement and mastery, and I want a trajectory to help get there. So if you're talking about anti-conventional wisdom because they're already stuck in that, no, it doesn't work, and you're talking about building a bridge, better pathways forward, the creator architect steps in. So who are those people? is potentially different than the belief system matched
Mhm.
up. It could
Well,
be the same.
I find
So what do you think about that?
I find archetypes a little overgeneralized. Now, in the absence of anything else, they're useful. But when you talked about the archetypes that you align with, notice how you picked out two specific keywords: mastery, and honestly, I forget what the other one was. But there's many other keywords that could have been within that archetype, right? And the ones that resonated with you were those two. There's a specific reason why that happens. This is why when I do what I do, I'm paying attention to two things. What are you saying, and what is the specific language you're using to say it, right? So I'm much more of a fan of getting to what you talked about there are what I call belonging traits. We're the kind of people who would describe ourselves as seeking mastery. We're the kind of people who blah, blah, blah. They're much more specific than archetypes. And once you know what they are for your business, now you know exactly how to talk to your customer. Because you're communicating not on an archetype level, which is very generalized, but on a shared belief system and a shared belonging trait level. It's much more specific.
Got it. Thanks, Michael.
Yeah.
So we got 2 more minutes, and then
We
I
got
wanna make
Joshua up there
sure-
as well.
What was that? Yeah, Joshua, we got 2 minutes, and then I want to go make sure we have time for everybody to do the breakouts. So go ahead, Joshua.
Thank you. This is not the first time any person will have been presented with a sales pitch. How do we get around their learned survival techniques when faced by, a wolf in sheep's clothing? So obviously there's going to be that critter brain reaction, but with constant stimulation as a common market participant experiences, we're going to learn to develop survival techniques beyond just reaction. How do we get around their deeper survival techniques?
Yeah. You mean, how do you get around their bullshit meter?
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Because they've been burned before. By being very, very clear about the outcome and being very clear about the beliefs. And then you can ask them, you can literally ask them, if you're noticing some reticence, like, yeah, I get where you're coming from, but I've been burned before. How do I know you're the real deal? You might be saying that. Well, first of all, this is why we source the beliefs from you rather than what you think they should be. Because we are excellent BS detectors, and by BS, I mean belief system. We inherently know if someone's saying something they don't actually believe in. So my job is to make sure you understand your belief system so that when you talk about it, it is believable. But if they are really, the guard is up, the critter brain is like, no, everyone's a leopard, no one's a gazelle. That's when you can notice that and just ask them, okay, what's going on? When have you been burned? Tell me about it. And when you start getting to that real level of understanding that, again, the critter brain goes, okay, I haven't been killed by this person yet, they must be safe. And maybe in that moment, they need time. They need another moment. They need more time to notice this. This is what they mean by, like, they have to have 7 touch points with you before they're going to buy from you. You all heard that? It's an average, but really what they're saying is they have to experience you 7 times and realize they haven't died yet. Right? By talking this way, by communicating beliefs and outcomes and coming from a place of your real core value system, you're going to shorten that a lot more. It might take 3. It might take all 7. Some people are different. But how do you get past that, like, ultra high wall of survival? Might take more time. Yeah.
All right, let's go to the breakout rooms. I want to make sure everybody has a chance to do that since we promise it. Michael, that was awesome. Really excited about what you're saying. It was very, very helpful, and everybody's got that code. You can obviously find Michael on LinkedIn. I put in the chat a link to my 30-minute session around getting clarity and focus, knowing the one action that matters the most. So I'll take anybody through that wants to do that, as well as a link to the newsletter about this kind of stuff we're talking about, where we kind of started. and the YouTube recording. So I'm always getting asked for that. So I'll do the breakout rooms. Anybody who needs to leave, feel free. And